The lovely breeze from the Trailer Park Boys. A version of a track, a song called "I Left My Heart in Somewhere." San Francisco. I left my heart in San Francisco. Greetings everybody in the chat, everybody watching this after it's aired live. We're going to look at the globe's false geometry. First with observations and then with illusions or misconceptions. So first with world observation. This is the Tirahana. There is a link to this video in the chat. If you scroll to the very top of the chat, you'll have a link to this video if you'd like to watch it yourself. It's Tirahana Ferry observation at 38 kilometers. It's conclusive proof of flat Earth by the Divine Plane, who is in Mallorca. Not Mallorca, what am I saying? The Canary Isles. Okay. I'm not going to play all the video. Just going to show the most salient points. Here you have a vehicle in the water. The dark blue band is the amount of water that should be hiding this vehicle at this distance. The distance is 38 kilometers. However, because the vehicle is not hidden by ocean going up halfway up the hull, the globe believers say it can't be 38 kilometers, it must be at a distance that matches the observation. That's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the distance versus what the globe believers say must be the distance, and we're going to find that in both cases the globelings fail. So I'm going to play a portion of it, just bear with me.
Oh, I mean, that is really, really flat. Let's take a picture number 8. Just beautiful. And this picture is really, really special. I love this picture. And you know what? You guys are going to love it too. Because the horizon, don't forget, it's at, I think, should be 33 kilometers out. And as we've already pointed out, it should be, you know, more or less blocking about this amount of the ship. The ship should be under that amount of curvature, right? But take a close look here, and you're really going to like this in the video. But you can actually see water back here. That's how flat this is. Our horizon, our optical horizon, our vanishing point, the angular resolution of our eye, the limit that our eye can see is going way beyond this boat.
Now, that's what we can see. How much beyond that is reflecting sky to the point that we can't tell the difference between ocean surface and sky? Well, it's anybody's guess. There would be a limit, but the point is we can certainly see beyond this boat. Now the globing say you can see beyond this boat because the boat is closer than the supposed 38 kilometers. Well, very good, just bear with me. Here we have the boat at 31 kilometers. Okay, so first we'll put it to 38 kilometers. And the target hidden height is 3.4 meters. The eye height, so the observation height, is 77 meters. If we bring this down to 31 kilometers, then there's no hidden height, none at all, and the horizon is at 31 kilometers. Very good. Except where Andy has placed this blue line is, well, the horizon. This ship should have nothing hidden. In other words, we should see what we're seeing of the ship now, including the bottom of the 2 extra hulls of a trimaran, you know, the hulls to the side that allow for extra speed and stability. So we should be seeing what we're seeing now, the bottom where the boat meets the ocean, except we should be seeing it higher in the frame, really. Sitting on that blue line that Andy has so kindly placed there for us. However, we're not seeing it on that blue line. That blue line is the 31-kilometer away horizon. It must be at least at the horizon. It isn't closer still. I mean, if you look at the video itself, you see he goes into great lengths to determine the actual distance. The actual distance to the boat, including looking at various different trackers and whatnot. Okay, what time it leaves, where it is, all of those details. Now, let me stop sharing that and do this instead. We have a distance to the bottom of the hull and the top of the hull and the horizon, which goes something like this according to the globe geometry. Andy is at 77 meters. There's the horizon at a distance, and a portion of the ship should be hidden this way. A portion of the ship should be hidden, although it isn't. And this is all according to the globe mathematics. 3 meters hidden, although it isn't, at his height of 77 meters. If we now measure from the very bottom of the right or left extra hull of the trimaran back to Andy's point of view, he's not at 77 meters, he's at 111 meters. How can geometry do this? It can't. It's false. Not to mention, if I do another quick drawing, just bear with me. Not to mention the fact that we do have a horizon in the shot. The horizon that we have in the shot is supposed to be, well, the horizon according to the globe, at whatever distance the globe tells you the horizon is at. Except when you actually look into the details, it's like, well, no, there's something wrong with this globe. You see, if that's the globe distance to the horizon, then the boat should be on that horizon. Just bear with me as I clean up my board. The alternative for the globelings, and we've seen this before with objects that don't move across the ocean like boats, with cities like Chicago and Toronto, they don't move. Those things don't move. The coastlines from which they're being filmed also don't move. So, according to the globe, this isn't drawing very well, but here's the boat. More or less. This is what we should be seeing. The boat at the horizon, if the boat was not at 38 kilometers but instead at 31, which is what the globe requires it to be at in order to match the observation. It should then be, well, at the horizon. It shouldn't then have a horizon farther away. That would mean that the boat was closer than 31 kilometers, which then contradicts, well, the logs, the GPS, and everything else. The same happens with the Chicago skyline. No, sorry, not the Chicago skyline. The I think it's Toronto skyline with the dome that we can see. So this is the situation we have. I'm going to omit the rest of the buildings, just add a couple just for, well, interest. Here we have a site that was captured by Jenna Fredo. This is called the Rogers Center. This is clearly visible. According to the globe, and this is a city, it doesn't move around. It doesn't get farther away from the observer or closer. She's on the shore opposite, and that also doesn't move around. She knows her distance to it. Her observation is 6 foot, the observation of the camera. All of this should be hidden. Should be, it's not drawing, I'll use this. This is what should be going on. Like, it should be hit, it should just not be visible. Now, the problem with the globe is that when you actually engage with looking at it using things like geometry, it really breaks down. There's a man called Mike Ball. I'm going to show his video. This is not going to be an extremely long hangout, by the way. Mike Ball is making a series of videos about how the geometry doesn't work like the globelings believe it works with observations like stellar observations or celestial observations, the sun and the moon specifically. He's chosen a really good example, and the globelings they're either really stupid and don't get it, or they're playing at being really stupid and not getting it. So, just bear with me while I pull Mike Ball's video. Then we will address a further point, which is this stupid, very stupid, supposed scientist from Australia who, despite supposedly being a scientist, gets his info from the internet. Which is very interesting, not from experimental tests, no. So just bear with me as I look for this video. Oh yes, there's also another video I'm going to play. I'll save this one for later. Just bear with me. So we have observations of fixed bodies that say, no, the curve calculator's wrong. Then we have observations from moving bodies. Well, one of the bodies is moving, a ship. Says the Earth calculator is wrong. In respect to the city, which obviously doesn't move around, what the globelings say, no, what's happening there is light is bending objects up into the sky. Despite that meaning the angle of elevation should change, which is a problem for the globelings. That's when it's a fixed object. When it's a moving object, they say, oh no, the object is closer. And when you say, well, if the object is closer, shouldn't it be on the horizon? Because if it's closer than the horizon, then it's a lot closer than the logs, the timetables, the GPS say. So it's almost like they're arguing against a Cutty Sark versus a modern sailing yacht. Because the Cutty Sark did a journey from Australia to Britain round Cape Horn in 73 days. And the racing yachts went all around Antarctica in 102 days. Obviously all around Antarctica, much faster than the cargo ship. But according to the globe, around the little Antarctica, much slower than the cargo ship. Like, it's almost like they're just making stuff up. Just waiting for a page to open. And I will show Mike Ball's description. It's very simple, it's very easy to follow. Just give me a second. Okay, here we go. It's very short. It's finally it's because what the globelings are doing is they're pretending they don't understand, and he's giving them the benefit of the doubt, like they really are very stupid and really don't understand. The globelings don't get that if they're playing dumb, it's kind of not looking good for them. They might think that they're messing with Mike's time for playing dumb, you know, and he's having to make videos to make it extra clear. But it's just making other people think, well, these globelings are dumb. I'm I'm a globling and I understand what it's trying to show. Right, so here we go. Here's Mike Ball's most recent video.
Hi everybody. This is a last-ditch effort to get everyone on the same page before the final installment in this angle series. What you're seeing is the wiki page on the Great American Eclipse of August 2017. Here you can see the total eclipse began at 1648 UTC time and ended at 2001 UTC time. Notice they list the moment of greatest eclipse at 1826, which is an hour and 38 minutes after total began and an hour and 35 minutes before total ends. Time and date lists the time of peak new at 1830, which is about 3.5 minute difference from what Wiki calls the greatest eclipse. So if we use time and date's peak new, total began an hour and 42 minutes before peak and ended an hour and 31 minutes after peak. Either way, total began and ended about an hour and a half either side of peak new moon. So then I went to time and date's path chart for that eclipse and clicked on the start of total eclipse. That gave me these coordinates, which I then put into Stellarium for that date. You can pause it and check my work if you want to, but here's someone on the Terminator line seeing the sun and moon rise together an hour and a half before peak new moon. So then I clicked on the other side of the totality path and I got these coordinates. So I put those into Stellarium and got someone watching the sun and moon set together an hour and a half after peak new moon. So we've seen it with astronomy software and on actual videos. It's no problem finding the sun and moon rising or setting together an hour or two before or after peak new moon. Here's my question. Adding all the refraction and dip angle that you deem realistic, what is the minimum amount of time before or after peak new moon that a person standing up on the Terminator line at sea level within 35 degrees of the equator could see the sun and moon rise or set together?
Now, for a bit of background on that, just bear with me. Here's an explanation of what he's showing and how the globelings are really struggling. In the same way that I just showed, if you take a reading from one location to an object in the distance and the curvature says the curvature is X, and then you measure back from the distance to yourself, the curvature is Y. It's like, hello, Andy's not at 77 meters above sea level and at 111 meters above sea level at the same time. You can't have that. You can't even bring in relativity to try and excuse it. So here's what Mike is explaining. It's very simple. All globelings should understand this. It is their model. Okay, so here we go.
Okay, here's Bill and Jane again, each on the Terminator line, but opposite sides of the ball Earth. Looking perfectly horizontally, the sun is so huge that they can each see virtually half of it geometrically. But neither can see the thin black line in the center because it is blocked by the Earth. But dip angle allows Bill to see a little below his perfectly horizontal horizon. And so once we apply that, he can see an entire half of the sun. Notice that he can't yet see the peak new moon though. Now, since we are only interested in the exact center of the sun, it doesn't matter how large it is. So at this point, I'm going to make this easier to see by zooming in and shrinking the sun. So here's Bill with his horizon line a mere 0.002 of a degree below perfectly horizontal. And he can see exactly half of the sun now. His horizon line is bisecting the sun, cutting it perfectly in half. Is his horizon line also bisecting the peak new moon right now, so that he is seeing exactly half of the sun and exactly half of the moon on his horizon? Of course not. But if Bill's horizon was perfectly bisecting both sun and moon, and this particular peak new moon happened to be eclipsing the sun, then Bill would be seeing something like this right now, both sun and moon.
Now, it's important to make this point. These observations are real. You can have two people on opposite sides of the terminator, so one just at sunset and one at sunrise, both seeing these objects. The reason Mike Bolle is going to great pains to show this is that it is geometrically impossible on the globe model. In the real world, they're possible because they happen, but the globe model, well, they kind of skim over that. They don't quite go into it, because if they do go into it like Mike Bolle is doing, you see, oh, actually not possible on the globe.
Cut perfectly in half by his horizon. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is the entire point of this entire angle series. Now I know we can see this site a couple of hours before peak new and a couple of hours after peak new. I'm waiting for you globe believers to either explain how we could see this at the precise moment of peak new moon, or openly admit that we can only see it a couple of hours before or after peak new. So please tell me, how do we get to that perfectly bisected eclipse?
Now, it's a bit of a trap. If they say you can only see it after a certain amount of time, then he's going to say, well, your globe is contradicting the actual observations. If they say geometrically you can't see it, then it's like, well, the theory behind your globe is contradicting the observations.
Sunrise or sunset from here. Well, you say that if Bill is standing up, the dip angle is 4/100ths of a degree, and I've only given him 2/1000ths of a degree. Okay, let's give him the full 4/100ths then. Oops, that can't be the answer. We've already lost the game because Bill can now see more than half of the sun, but still isn't seeing any of the moon. And we need him to be seeing exactly half of the sun and half of the moon, right?
Which means the sun would be, well, lower on the frame. The blue line would be lower still, bisecting the moon, and the sun would be lower still. Now the person on the opposite side of the globe would have a countering blue line with the same thing, bisecting the moon, with the sun, well, way over there at the top of the frame. Or move the moon up and down. You have to do one or the other. You can't do neither. And according to the globe model, well, there's only one moon and only one sun.
If we send Bill up in a high altitude weather balloon to increase the angle he can see around the ball Earth. Okay, well, now he's seeing some of the moon, but he's a full sun diameter off the sun now. And we need Bill to see exactly half of the sun and exactly half of the peak new moon at the same time, remember? I know. Let's appeal to refraction. That seems to fix a lot of other ball Earth observational problems, right?
Except refraction doesn't happen in space. It can only happen between the atmosphere and the observer. Not between the observer and the 93 million miles to the sun, because once you leave the 7 or so miles of atmosphere that causes refraction, the rest, well, there's no refraction.
So let's refract the moon up to where Bill can finally see exactly half of it from his weather balloon. Oh no, not again. Yep, if we apply refraction to the moon to fix the problem, then we also have to apply at least as much to the sun, right? And by the time we add enough angular and refractive help to allow Bill to finally see exactly half of the peak new moon on his horizon, the sun will be 3.2 sun diameters away from him seeing exactly half of it on his horizon at the same time. So now I'm stuck and I need the ball earthers' help. I can't for the life of me figure out how to get exactly half of the sun and exactly half of the peak new moon on Bill's horizon at the same time. On the other hand, YouTube has quite a few videos showing eclipsed sunrises about 2 hours before peak new and eclipsed sunsets about 2 hours after peak new. This one was 2 hours and 26 minutes after peak new. This one from Guthrie, Oklahoma was 1 hour and 50 minutes after peak new. This one from Australia was 2 hours and 6 minutes before peak new. Anyway, I think you guys get the idea. I'm just looking for a way the sun and the peak new moon can rise or set together in your model. Is it possible or not?
And not just for one observer, but setting for a counter observer if it's rising for the original observer, and vice versa.
I say it's not possible because the moon can't possibly be directly between the middle of the sun and the middle of the earth. At the same time, it's between the middle of the sun and the terminator line on earth. If you have a...
And it doesn't have to be eclipse period. It's the moon's ecliptic can have the moon above the sun or below the sun. But hey, on the same plane. So, looks like the globe says impossible. The math of the globe says impossible, but the real world says, well, possible. But the programs depicting stellarium, you know, programs like that saying possible, astronomers saying possible, but geometry saying no.
Can happen, please say so. If you don't, then just openly admit that it cannot happen.
Okay, now I'm going to show something else. 1 second. Not this one. This one. This is cracking. This is from the Plane Ranger. Some of you might see this next week on Globebusters. Watch.
Hello people. Just spotted a little advert video on YouTube that got pushed my way. I'm into mountain biking, so I get shunted mountain biking bits. This is by Specialized Bicycles. They've got 307,000 subs. So it's quite an interesting advert they've done there, using flat Earth to sell their new electric bikes. But I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to do some comment bombing. Well, I don't know what you'd call it, but yeah, I think a few people could be turned on if enough people got the right kind of comic over there. Anyway, let me see what you think.
Alla mia destra, rappresentanti della Terra rotonda,
To my right, representations of the round Earth,
con fenomeni
with geodynamic phenomena, crustal movement,
dinamici, movimento crostale, accademia,
Academia Geosatellite Geodesy,
geodesia satellitare, datum, un
a millennium of observations,
millennio di osservazioni, misurazioni,
measurements and universal scientific consensus.
consenso scientifico universale. In opposizione, una bicicletta,
And on the opposing side, a bicycle,
un motore,
a motor, a
una
battery.
batteria.
The world is now flat. Pointer drop. Huh. So, it's like, look, you know, you can have things that you didn't think you could have. Like, well, this kind of bike. Very simple, very straightforward, works. You can buy it. It's real world. And on the opposite, you got, well, globe theory and gibberish. It's cracking. It's fantastic. Very good. Thanks for sharing that, dude. Right. Now, where was I going to go? Oh, yes. Here. Now we're going to talk some more about geometry and how globings don't seem to quite get it. Even though they learnt it in primary school, then again in secondary school, and then again at university. But they forgot to actually, like, use it. We're going to listen to Where's Wally misrepresent what I was saying about light.
Retina sees, Antonio, so research averted gaze. That's what telescopers do all the time.
Right, wait a second. Go back. Oops.
In his fail at the seeing colour by the moonlight video, he did say that the fovea is the only part of the eyes that see. Oops, bong bong, that's wrong.
Oops, boom, boom, that's wrong. Apart from that's right, but never mind.
Rods don't see in colour, which is true, and why we only see in low light, we only see in black and white.
It just said in low light we only see in black and white. Do we really? He's quoting as he's speaking as if he's quoting me, and then slips in this like, no, you don't only see in black and white in low color. That's a stupid thing to say. You can demonstrate that that's not true. But he needs it to, because the moon, most moons, I should say, especially moons that are not yellow, or not harvest moons, don't show color. So he has to say, well, dim light doesn't show colors. But he says it as if it's what I'm saying. Now I'm going to educate him about his own theory. This is the globe theory of light and refraction and the eye. And I'm going to use the board again. Okay, so let me make sure that this draws well. Yes, okay. You have... I'm going to make it very simple for the globelings to follow. Right, you have the eyeball, and the light is restricted by the aperture of the pupil, which means that rays, and this is the theory, by the way, because so much of what's taught as true turns out to be, well, this is the theory, this is like the conventional theory. This is the theory, and yes, it is like this. It's not straight away. The optic nerve is not directly behind your pupil. Okay, your pupils are formed in such a way that the light diverges ever so slightly. So this would be the fovea. I've chosen to depict it like this. Okay, so the rays are refracted by the lens, and well, they do this. Now the theory says we see upside down. You've heard this. You've had this taught to you. You've had this taught to you because when you look in a camera obscura, the image is reversed. So what must be happening is, here's the opening, and here's the opening, and the light from the top there must be coming to the bottom, and the light from the bottom here must be going to the top, and here's the focal point. Therefore, it's at this point you should ask the question, is the focal point at the meeting point, before or after? You see, for it to be actually inverted, it has to be after. You see, here's a quick little explanation. Here's bottom, okay? Look, bottom, and here's top. Yeah? Okay. Here's bottom, and here's top. If the image is captured here, okay, like, well, this is still bottom, and this is still top. However, if the image is captured after the focal point, then it crosses over, so that this is now top, and this is now bottom, which would be inverted. Do you see? Okay, right. The dim-dims, like Where's Wally, knowing, at least having mental access to this information, they know this, but they don't think about it. Instead, they just repeat without thinking about it. And when they say things like, oh no, what happens is the rods of the eye, which are only photoreceptors to receive or inform the brain of how much light is coming in, not what quality of light, simply how much, the intensity, so that the pupil can contract or dilate, or the iris, so that the information is not too overwhelming for the brain or for the eye, so you don't have just glare. Now, according to silly, stupid people like Where's Wally, the rods also see, they only see in black and white. Here's some information for you, Where's Wally. The things that determine colour and sight are the cones, not the rods. Can the cones portray black and white? Yes. How do they do that? will be receiving light frequency that has the same level of green, blue and red. And that says white. You see, it's not the rods, you freaking silly boob, but I'm going to show you with geometry for you to understand a little better. Okay? Now, you see in the drawing that I've just done, and the drawing that I've just done is simple, straightforward light theory. Okay? Which says this is what happens to light. Okay? Does this also happen to light? No. It doesn't illuminate these regions, does it? No. Why not? Because it's refracted by the lens, so it doesn't reach these regions that are populated only with rods. Do you understand? For your idea to be true, which says under low light only the rods can transmit white information. Like, oh really? So somehow there's a low light that makes it so that it doesn't still refract? Is that what's happening? It stops refracting? Now yes, if the pupil is wider, then this is going to be wider, but it's still going to get to the same point. That the point of the eye is to maintain the size of the aperture and the distance or the focal length at a ratio that keeps working. The eye can do this to itself, and it can also do this to the lens, okay, to keep that relationship working. Your idea, Wally, which is that, well, at some points light no longer refracts through curved convex lenses. No longer, no, it just goes straight through. And the information that arrives at the fovea with all its cones, they just ignore that. They just say, pretend you're not seeing colours. You frickin' dim-dim. You understand? This is your theory, and according to your own theory, your globe theory, you're wrong. And ophthalmology is not a finished science. You understand? It's a study of sight. There's no absolute conclusions. You understand? They're still looking and investigating. Does it really arrive upside down in the brain? Does the brain then flip it? Is that what happens? Is it this region, this optic nerve, if you follow that filament, it goes towards the bottom and render information here at the part of the brain that renders information? And it's all still just theory. And it's always theory that tries to support the globe, because it can't be theory that contradicts the globe. That would just, well, you wouldn't get your PhD. So, dim-dim, your own theory says you're wrong. Your theory says you're wrong. Okay? Okay. Now, lastly, I'm going to show Karen B. Who's Karen B? Oh, you'll see who Karen B is. Just give me a second. Most of you know, most of you who have been in this for any amount of time will know Karen B. Okay. Karen B was, I would have considered a friend at a time. Then what happened was, a friend of hers ripped off a kind-hearted flat earther. Completely ripped him off. So, Karen B was aware of this because she was on an off-air chat with me and the person that had been ripped off, being fully aware of it. When I pointed this out, Karen B said, Antonio is lying. Like, no, Karen B is lying. And she knows, and so does Vincent P, the man that was ripped off. Now, because Karen B has been found lying, there's nothing lost if the lies get more extreme and they become, well, slander. So here's Karen B, who voiced this, which slanders or defames me and several other people, all of which absolutely falsely. But that doesn't stop this mother of two, one of whom is a boy, from defaming. So Karen B, let's look at a good shot of Karen B. Oh, here's Karen B when she tried this. Oh, sorry. Very embarrassing attempt at ASMR. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Now there's a point to why I'm showing this. I want to find the shot, the image of Karen B, so people can see what it looks like. And I say it on purpose because I don't think it's a normal human being. Normal human beings don't do the kind of thing that this person's doing. So I'm going to refer it as it. Not because I think it's not a woman, I think it is a woman. But I wouldn't know for sure, you know. Let me see. Karen B, ASMR. Where is it? Oh, it might have been pulled. I don't know. I don't see it. Let me carry on looking. It was dreadfully embarrassing for flat earthers to have a flat earther done up. You can't put lipstick on a pig and not notice it's still ugly. Well, or at least not notice it's still a pig. And then try to be sexy. Like, Jesus. Anyway, I can't find an image. I'll just blow this up like this. This is Karen B, mother of two, one of which is a boy. Now, wouldn't it be hilarious if when that boy was an adult, somebody accused him of rape? Wouldn't that be hilarious, Karen B? And imagine that on the night of the supposed rape, your son had been with you, Karen B. And you knew for sure he hadn't raped whoever it was that was smearing him. You know for sure he has not raped the person that's accusing him of having raped. You'd have to say to him, it's okay, I know that you didn't rape because, well, you were with me, and I know that women lie about people raping. How do you know, mother? Well, because I did some of it myself. Ah, Karen B, you dumbass. Now, in reality, it would not be hilarious because the boy hasn't done anything. But that doesn't matter to people like this. Like, consequences, you know, to the devil. So I thought I'd just point that out. Karen B, you complete fraud. Now, some people know that Karen B is just ever on the quest for fame and popularity, and unfortunately, not that likable. So because this person is not that likable, people are turned off. That's a very good way of getting people turned off from Flat Earth, isn't it? Now here's a challenge, Karen B. I challenge you. Let me see how many subs you have. Let's see. With your 8,000 subs, I challenge you to make a video responding to this video, specifically the part about you, and see if you get more views for your video than I do for mine with my 2,000 subscribers. If it turns out I get more views for mine, then it might mean that people find me more appealing in terms of what I do and produce and present than you. Sorry, babe. And that's it. I'm going to wrap up and go and have some food. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.